Thanks, Jackie, for that warm welcome, and thanks to all the team at Midlands Science for the opportunity to come and to speak with you all today and to share some insights from my research on conspiracy theories. I'm just going to share my screen now so you can see my slides. Is that okay? Can everybody see the screen?
Yeah, all good, yeah.
Okay. So so the topic that I'm going to speak about today is, I suppose, around conspiracy theories, what they are, and really, I suppose, trying to get into that question of why people believe in them. So my colleagues and I have been researching the rise of conspiracy theories in Britain over the last 4 years or so. And our research is ethnographic in nature. And so that means that we basically carry out the research by observing and participating within conspiracy theories communities, or what they like to call themselves, I suppose more often, is truth seeker communities. And so when we're carrying out the research, we spend a lot of our time basically attending conferences, going to community events, and also spending time just visiting people in their homes, having conversations with them, and we spend some of our time kind of watching the way that they use social media from the kind of from within their homes. And then beyond that, we also spent time participating in online communities and observing and recording what happens in those kind of online forums. And I suppose the goal then of this ethnographic perspective really is for us to be able to develop a kind of an insider's perspective of what life is like within the conspiracy theory community. And so in a lot of ways, this approach to research kind of shares the same values that Jackie mentioned in the beginning of her talk today, about we're recognizing the importance, I suppose, of being able to listen to other people and to be able to hear what they have to say, and to hear, I suppose, in a kind of a genuine way. And the idea with that then is that we can learn from people who, I guess, are usually put into a position of being othered. And so we try to understand and to empathize with that perspective. And I think conspiracy theories is a topic that really very much kind of falls into that kind of realm, and particularly the people who believe in conspiracy theories. So when we would have started out this research, conspiracy theories were pretty much a fringe topic, and it was certainly not something that was seen as a major societal issue. But I think we're all probably aware of how much this has changed during the pandemic. And in lots of different ways, the pandemic seems to have created fertile ground for conspiracy theories to spread. Many people have experienced unemployment, isolation, financial pressure, and restrictive movements. These are things that if we thought we would have kind of had these experiences 2 years ago, a lot of people would have said, no, that sounds like a conspiracy. And so we've actually gone through this, and it's been very difficult for a lot of us to understand and to make sense of. And understandably, with a lot of people spending more time at home and spending more time on social media, people have found themselves online looking for answers to explain the pandemic. But also, I think more importantly, they've been looking for answers to understand and to explain their changed lives within the pandemic. And so in this kind of short talk that I'm going to do today, then I'll try to explain a little about what conspiracy theories are, and hopefully show you some of the reasons why the people who participated in our study believe in conspiracy theories. And to do that, I'm going to show you a few pieces of data that we would have collected from interviews, and hopefully that will give you a chance to kind of, I suppose, see the human side of conspiracy theories and understand and empathize, hopefully, with how people get drawn into them. So I guess the first thing that we can do in setting this all up is to look at how much conspiracy theories have actually flourished. And I suppose what we know is that conspiracy theories thrive in conditions of uncertainty. And that's, obviously the pandemic has created a huge condition of uncertainty. And the surveys or the polling data reveal that 20% of British people believed that the COVID-19 was a hoax, and many of them believed that it was caused by the installation of 5G technology. So there is this kind of whole array of polling data that evidences this significant uptake in belief in conspiracy theories. We see that 30% of people believe the COVID-19 death toll is being deliberately reduced or hidden by the authorities. 1 in 7 people believe the death toll is being deliberately exaggerated by the authorities. And more than 1 in 20 people believe that the symptoms that most people blame on COVID-19 are actually connected to the rollout of 5G technology. But the important point that we can see from all of this polling data really is the idea that conspiracy theories are prospering in this specific moment in time at rates that are unprecedented in Britain's history. But there are obviously some really negative social consequences that come or are associated with this uptake in belief in conspiracy theories. And that makes it a topic that's pretty difficult to ignore right now at the moment. And some recent research indicates that people who have a conspiratorial worldview are more likely to remove themselves from democratic processes. They're more likely to be vaccine hesitant and reject public health information. But I guess worryingly, recent research has also shown us that belief in conspiracy theories may support the increase in violence. And I guess this is kind of significant, or we can see examples of this when we consider that across Europe and North America and Australia recently, people have been burning down 5G towers and abusing 5G engineers because of their belief in 5G conspiracies. But I guess it's also important that we kind of take a step back and try to understand, what conspiracies really are. And in maybe their most simplest terms, conspiracy theories are elaborate stories which claim that various sinister groups operate behind the scenes to control the course of world's events. Conspiracy theories then, they typically fall into one of 3 categories in terms of their scale. So some conspiracy theories are created around single events like 9/11 or the assassination of JFK. And then we have these kind of more wide-reaching conspiracies which draw on explanations relating to groups such as New World Order or maybe the Rothschilds. And finally, then we have what are called super conspiracy theories, which the likes of David Icke in the UK is famous for, or Steve Bannon in the US is also, I guess, somebody who's known for these kind of super conspiracy theories. And these kinds of conspiracy theories basically draw connections between a range of other conspiracy theories with the aim of basically trying to explain everything about how society and our everyday lives are organized and controlled by a powerful, evil and corrupt group of elites. But regardless of their scale, conspiracy theories tend to present the existence of 2 realities. So there's the reality that's given official status, and then there's this invisible backstage in which powerful conspirators operate in secrecy in order to control pretty much everything about our lives. But in keeping with the scope of today's forum, I think it's important that we also consider conspiracy theories as a form of knowledge, and we maybe differentiate them from other forms of knowledge. So traditionally, knowledge claims would come from institutions like universities, medical and scientific communities, and governmental agencies. And knowledge is usually created by people who are trained experts within very specialist fields. But conspiracy theories typically involve a rejection of these authorities. And so they tend to be almost kind of hostile to these kind of institutions. So by their very nature, conspiracy theories move away from the idea that there is one objective truth, which is really important when we understand what conspiracy theorists actually do. Because this idea that there isn't just one truth creates a situation where truth seekers' lives really revolve around discovering their own alternative truths. So in this way, then, conspiracy theories can be treated like any other kind of cultural narrative, or what the sociologist Erik Hochschild calls a deep story. And what we see with this idea of deep stories is that the facts of conspiracy theories don't necessarily need to be true for people, but what matters to them is how true the story feels and how it allows them to address particular anxieties and problems that they're experiencing within their everyday lives. So when we looked at this idea of the narrative structure of conspiracy theories, we saw that there were a few kind of recurring themes that pop out across basically all of the different conspiracy theories that we looked at. And these three ideas are the idea that nothing happens by accident, nothing is as it seems, and everything is connected. And so this is what really creates a kind of a perfect condition for people to become kind of engaged in the act of conspiracy theorizing. So in taking a step back and asking the question about what are conspiracy theories, we can see that they exist as a kind of a form of stigmatized knowledge. So that is kind of knowledge claims that have not been accepted by the institutions that we typically rely upon for truth validation. And so conspiracy theories kind of fall into a category that's similar to belief in horoscopes, in UFOs, unaccepted cancer cures, and those kind of stigmatized, other types of stigmatized knowledge. So now I suppose that we have some sense of what conspiracy theories are. We have a foundation to ask the possibly more interesting question about why people believe in conspiracy theories. So this is a piece of data that we would have got from Peter, who is pretty much at this stage a veteran of the truth seeker community. And in this interview, Peter reflected back on the events that had led him to become engaged in the community. I'll just give you a chance to read that quote for yourself. So when we look at this quote, what we can see is that Peter's negative experiences in his interactions with what he considered to be incompetent health workers was a significant moment in his kind of moment of awakening or becoming a truth seeker. And many of our participants shared similar experience where they had these kind of negative interactions with state institutions. And because of these, they were left with really strong feelings of resentment and contempt for authorities. And so in Peter's case, we can see how this very personal experience fueled then a more general breakdown in trust towards institutions and those kind of sources of authority that we usually value in terms of, you know, the information that we choose to believe in. So what we saw, I guess, repeatedly across all of our interviews was this idea that conspiracy theories and belief in them is kind of primed by these negative personal interactions with institutions and the kind of strong feelings of resentment and contempt that follow from these interactions. The second big idea that kind of pops up when we analyze the data, I suppose, was around the significance of online interaction and collaboration. And so this second piece of data from Ellie Rose's interview gives us some real insights into how people interact with other truth seekers within online communities. And I guess it's important to mention that most of the participants in our study first encountered conspiratorial content when there were shared videos or documentaries by friends or close acquaintances over social media. And I think that's kind of, it harps back, I think, to some of the points that Isabella made about the kind of information overload. And I think one of the ways that we kind of we make shortcuts in terms of, you know, the information that we choose to trust is when we're shared information from close acquaintances or from friends. You know, we tend to kind of place too much value in terms of trust around those things. So Ellie Rose explains that the documentary Plandemic really opened her eyes to all of the connections. So she says, "I don't know why I didn't see it. It shows how the pandemic is a manufactured situation led by elites such as Bill Gates to profit from global mandatory vaccinations. When it was released on Facebook, my friends and I shared it with each other immediately. My housemates and I all watched it while I was sending messages to friends, lots of shock faces, emoji, and devil emojis. It exploded on Facebook. Everyone was posting it." So this kind of quote, I suppose, gives us a sense of how easy it is to become engaged in conspiracy theories. Interacting with them is oftentimes kind of as simple as just sharing content, liking posts, or picking out emojis. And I think it's really important that we kind of recognize the banality of a lot of these things. You know, about how easy it can be to become engaged with conspiracy theories and to be immersed within those kind of communities. And so this expert, I suppose, gives us a sense of how quickly conspiracy theories can circulate on social media, but also begins to give us a sense of the type of social connection that people receive when they engage with other truth seekers in online communities. And so this final piece of data then from Tina gives us a sense of the activity and sense of participation that keeps people involved in conspiracy theories. So Tina says, I did my own research to confirm, to check, to understand, and to do due diligence. And that idea of doing your own research is something that's really important within truth seeker communities. You know, this is the kind of, I suppose, where people move from just being consumers of information to people who are actually involved in the production of their own conspiracy theories. And that, in a lot of ways, is where the sense of social status comes within the communities, because people who can kind of deal with information that other people feel is kind of too hot to handle or too real, these are the people who are kind of celebrated within the community as kind of heroic truth seekers. And I guess you can imagine that for people who are maybe largely on the margins of society, this identity and the sense of prestige and social connection that comes from it are really important in terms of understanding the social value involved in conspiracy communities. So I guess coming out of this then, what we can say from our research is that in times of uncertainty, conspiracy theories are appealing because they help some people to make sense of complex events while enabling them to connect with like-minded others and restore a sense of meaning and purpose in their lives.